My hands were shaking when I opened Reddit. I never imagined I'd be sitting in front of my computer, typing out this kind of personal mess word by word for strangers to see. But I've been holding it in for so long. I really need someone to tell me whether I did anything wrong. Alright, here goes nothing. So me and Sarah had been together for about 5 years, engaged for almost 3. Things were going alright, or at least I thought they were. We had a wedding date set, everything was booked, and I was under the impression we were on the same page. Guess I was wrong about that. See, about 6 weeks ago, she tells me she's going on this trip to Europe with her old college friends. It was like a trip of a lifetime kind of deal, or whatever she called it. I was fine with it. I mean, it wasn't like I was going to stop her from going on a trip with her friends, right? In fact, I even drove her to the airport, helped her with her bags, gave her a kiss goodbye, and wished her a fun time. That's when she hit me with it, the whole "we need to take a break" thing. Now, it wasn't like she said, "let's sit down and talk about things." Nope, she just drops it on me as we're walking to the security line. Like, it's no big deal. I remember thinking, what the hell do you mean a break? But before I could even respond or ask questions, she's off in the line waving goodbye, and that was it. I didn't even process it fully at first. I got back in the car and drove home thinking it was maybe some weird comment she made because she was nervous about the trip, but then I started calling her, just to check in, and guess what? Blocked, like straight up blocked. On everything. I couldn't call her, text, or nothing. I checked social media to see if maybe she posted something or gave an update on her trip. Blocked there too. That's when it started to sink in that this whole break thing wasn't some casual comment. She meant it. She really just left for Europe and decided to cut me off without even talking about it. I tried to give it a few days. Maybe she'd calm down. Maybe she'd realized she was being ridiculous. But after 5 days of complete silence, I was done. I made up my mind right then and there. The wedding was off, and you know what? I felt good about that decision. Why should I be with someone who thinks they can just walk away whenever they feel like it? I wasn't going to sit around and wait for her to decide when she was ready to be in a relationship again. Hell no, she made her choice, so I made mine. I canceled everything: the venue, the catering, the flowers. Whatever we had planned for the wedding, I pulled the plug, and then I took it one step further and decided she wasn't moving in with me either, which was supposed to happen in March. No, she could figure out her living situation when she got back from her little vacation, because it wasn't going to be with me. Weeks went by, and I didn't hear a word from her, not a single message, not a call, nothing. Then one day, out of nowhere, she calls me. I didn't even no, it was her at first, because she must have used a different number or something. She says she's getting back on Thursday morning, gives me her flight details like I'm supposed to care, and acts like everything is just fine, like she didn't ghost me for 6 weeks. I paused for a second and then said, "What's that got to do with me?" And man, the silence on the other end of the phone was golden. She didn't know how to respond. I didn't give her a chance to explain either. I blocked her just like she did to me, and that was the end of it, or at least I thought it was. Later that day, I figured it was time to let people know what was up, especially since the wedding was off and all. We had a group chat with some of our friends and family, so I just posted a quick message saying, "Hey, just letting everyone know the wedding is canceled, and so is our relationship." I didn't think it would blow up like it did. But man, people had questions. Everyone started asking what happened, so I laid it out for them. I told them how Sarah went off to Europe, decided we needed a break without even asking me, and then blocked me for 6 weeks. They were all pretty shocked. Some people were even mad on my behalf, which honestly felt kind of nice. You never really know how people will react when you drop news like that, but it was good to have some support around 2p. Sarah finally decided to chime in. She didn't say much at first, just asked me to call her so we could talk about everything. I wasn't having it. I told her we could talk right there in the group chat if she wanted to explain herself. She didn't like that though, said something like, "This is between us, not for everyone else." Yeah, no, she made this public the second she walked out of my life without a word. She tried messaging me a few more times, but I just kept it short. I wasn't in the mood to listen to her excuses. By 6p. She was begging me to pick her up from the airport so we could talk this out, like seriously, as if nothing had happened. I told her straight up, that was your plan, not mine. None of this was my plan, and I meant it. I wasn't going to go running to the airport like some fool after everything she pulled. To be honest, part of me was still waiting for her to drop some kind of explanation that would make it all make sense. I guess I wanted to believe there was a reason, something that would justify why she treated me like this, but as the hours went by, I realized there wasn't going to be a reason. She wasn't going to come back with some grand apology or tell me there was some misunderstanding. She made her choice, and I had to live with that. So the next few days, I focused on getting my life back on track. I wasn't about to let this ruin me. I started going through our shared accounts, making sure everything was split up, and yeah, I changed the locks on my apartment. Last thing I needed was her showing up unannounced, thinking she could just waltz back into my life. I was done with that. I even started looking at some trips of my own. I figured if she could run off to Europe for 6 weeks, maybe I should take some time for myself too. I deserved it after all the crap she put me through. Anyway, that's where things stand right now. She'll be back in a Couple of days, but I'm not going to be there waiting. She can figure out her own way home. As far as I'm concerned, this chapter of my life is over, and I'm moving on to better things. I'm sitting in my apartment, staring at the photos on the wall, ones we took together. Last summer's camping trip, the picture from her sister's wedding, that one of us grinning like idiots with Mickey Mouse ears at Disneyland. I don't have the heart to tear them down one by one, so I just sit here staring at them. 5 years, gone just like that. No fight, no cheating. Just one sentence she threw at me at the airport security checkpoint before she disappeared. I don't even know what I'm supposed to hate her for, because she never gave me the chance to hate her at all. Alright, so let me tell you what happened next, because things got wild pretty quick after I made my peace with the fact that the wedding was off. I figured it was just a matter of time before Sarah tried to reach out again. I was ready for it, but what I didn't expect was how fast she'd try to play the victim card. It all started when I got this message from one of our mutual friends, Emily. Now, Emily's cool, she's always been straight with me, but this time she was a bit hesitant, like she didn't really want to get involved, but she sends me a screenshot from another group chat, one that I wasn't in obviously. It was Sarah talking to some of her friends, trying to paint this whole thing like I was the one who overreacted. Can you believe that in the chat she's telling them how stressed she was about the wedding and how she needed space to clear her head? She even said something like, I didn't mean for the break to last that long, but I thought he would understand. And then there was this gem: I just needed to figure out if I was ready for marriage, but he canceled everything before I could talk to him. Almost laughed when I read that, like she blocked me on everything for 6 weeks, then acts like I'm the one who didn't give her a chance to talk. Nah, that's not how this works. I felt my blood boiling just reading the messages. She was playing the whole poor me card, telling everyone that I was being irrational and rushed into canceling the wedding. At this point, I knew I couldn't just let her keep running her mouth, making me look like the bad guy, so I decided to address it head on. I wasn't going to let her rewrite history. I jumped into the main group chat where all our close friends and family were still buzzing from the wedding cancellation news. Everyone was trying to figure out what the hell was going on, and I figured it was time to clear the air. I posted a message that said, look, I just want everyone to know the truth here. Sarah decided we were taking a break without talking to me, blocked me for 6 weeks, and now she's acting like this is some kind of miscommunication. I canceled a wedding because I wasn't going to sit around waiting for someone who didn't respect me enough to even have a conversation. Immediately people started replying, offering their support and saying how messed up the whole situation was. Sarah was silent in the chat for a good hour or so after that, but then she finally came in with some weak excuse about how she didn't think it would go this far and how she never meant to hurt anyone again. No accountability, no real apology, just trying to save face. One of my buddies, Jake, jumped in and called her out right there in front of everyone. He was like, Sarah, you can't just drop a break on someone and disappear for weeks and expect everything to be fine when you come back. That's not how relationships work. Honestly, I was relieved someone else said it, because I was getting tired of defending myself at this point. Now here's where things got interesting. Sarah's friend Megan, who I always suspected was kind of shady, decided to back Sarah up. Megan starts saying how Sarah's been through a lot and how wedding pressure can really mess with your head. She was trying to make it sound like Sarah was the victim of stress and anxiety, which, okay, I get that planning a wedding is stressful, but come on, that's not an excuse to block your fiancé and go radio silent for 6 weeks while you're partying in Europe. Megan goes on saying stuff like you should have given Sarah more time to process everything, and maybe you acted too quickly by canceling the wedding. That's when I lost it. I wasn't about to sit there and listen to some third-party person who wasn't even in the relationship try to tell me how to handle it. So I replied, Megan, with all due respect, you don't know the half of it. This isn't about wedding stress. It's about the fact that Sarah blocked me, cut me off completely, and didn't bother to talk to me once during the whole trip. I tried, I called, texted, and got nothing. How much more time was I supposed to give her? Another 6 weeks, a year? If Sarah didn't want to be with me, she could have said that, but instead she disappeared and expected me to just sit around waiting. That's not how it works. The chat went quiet after that. I think everyone was starting to realize just how messed up the whole situation was. Even Megan didn't have much to say after that. A couple of days passed and I thought maybe things would calm down, but nope. I get another call from Sarah's sister Rachel. Now Rachel and I had always gotten along pretty well, so I figured maybe she was calling to check in or something, but as soon as I answered, she went straight into, why did you cancel the wedding without talking to Sarah first? I was stunned. I didn't expect Rachel to take Sarah's side, especially after everything I told her. Rachel, your sister blocked me. How was I supposed to talk to her when she literally cut me off? Rachel didn't really have an answer to that, but she kept pushing, saying Sarah was heartbroken and that I should have waited for her to come back and talk things through. At that point, I had enough. I told Rachel straight up, look, I get that you want to defend your sister, but what she did was wrong. She didn't give me any say in the whole break thing, and I'm not going to wait around for someone who doesn't respect me. If Sarah wants to explain herself, She knows how to reach me, but I'm not going to be the one to fix this. Rachel tried to say more, but I just told her I had to go and hung up. I wasn't about to keep having the same conversation with every single person Sarah sent my way that night. I got another message from Sarah. This time she was apologizing. Well, sort of. She said she was sorry for how things went down, but didn't take any responsibility for the choices she made. It was one of those half apologies where she tried to make it sound like we were both at fault. I didn't reply. There was no point. She'd made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. I wasn't going to go back and forth with her anymore after that. I made sure to block her everywhere again, just to make sure there wouldn't be any more drama. I wasn't interested in hearing her excuses or letting her drag this out any longer. At the end of the day, I realized something. I dodged a bullet. If this is how Sarah acted when things got tough, I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be married to her. I felt bad for the time we wasted, but I was glad it ended before it got any worse. Now I could move on, and that's exactly what I plan to do. Update 1. Alright, so after all the drama with Sarah and her trying to guilt trip me into reconsidering the wedding, which by the way didn't work, I thought things would quiet down for a bit, but nope, not in my life. Turns out I had way more coming my way than I could have expected. About a week after I blocked Sarah for the last time, I get this random call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer it because at this point I wasn't in the mood for more drama, but for some reason I picked up, and guess who? It was Sarah's mom. Yeah, her mom. Like, what the hell now? Sarah's mom had always been one of those people who was super sweet to your face, but you could tell she had this whole passive-aggressive vibe. Just under the surface, she was the type of person who would give you a compliment, but somehow it felt like an insult, you know what I mean? Anyway, Lisa starts off the conversation all friendly, like nothing had happened. Hi, sweetheart, how are you doing? She says, like we hadn't just canceled a wedding and blocked her daughter from my life. I wasn't about to play games, so I kept it short. I'm fine. Lisa, what's going on? That's when she starts with the whole guilt trip. She says, oh, we were so looking forward to the wedding, and this whole thing has really devastated Sarah. You know, she's been crying every day since she got back, right? She's just been a mess. Now, I wasn't about to let her make me feel bad for Sarah, not after everything she pulled, so I told her straight up, Lisa, I'm sorry Sarah's upset, but she made her choices. I didn't call off the wedding for no reason. And then Lisa hits me with this, well, maybe you overreacted a bit. You know, Sarah was just nervous about the whole thing, and sometimes people make mistakes when they're stressed. Don't you think you should give her a second chance? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, she was acting like Sarah blocking me for 6 weeks and disappearing was just a minor mistake. I wasn't having it. Lisa, I said this wasn't just nerves. She literally blocked me on everything and went off to Europe without saying a word. That's not something you just brush off. If Sarah was having doubts, she should have talked to me, not shut me out. But Lisa isn't done yet. Oh no, she kept pushing. I know it seems bad, but think about all the years you've been together. You've had such a good relationship. Don't you want to try and save it? I'm sure once Sarah explains everything, you'll understand. At this point, I was getting pretty annoyed. It was like Lisa wasn't even listening to what I was saying. She was so focused on getting me to take Sarah back that she wasn't considering how I felt. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and said, Lisa, with all due respect, Sarah had 6 weeks to reach out to me, and she didn't. I've already made up my mind. The wedding is off, and that's final. I thought that would be the end of it, but Lisa wasn't done yet. She goes, well, if you won't talk to Sarah, at least come over for dinner so we can talk as a family. Maybe we can work through this together. I was speechless. She was inviting me to their family dinner like this was some kind of minor argument that could be solved over a plate of spaghetti. I knew this wasn't going anywhere, so I told her thanks for the offer, but I think it's best if we all just move on. And with that, I hung up. You think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. The next day, I get a message from Sarah's dad. Now, let me tell you, her dad, Tom, is one of those old school guys who thinks he's always right. He's never really liked me, but he tolerated me because Sarah and I were together. So when I saw the message from him, I knew it wasn't going to be a friendly chat. He basically laid into me saying how I was throwing away a good thing and that I was ruining Sarah's life by not giving her a chance to explain. He even said something like, men don't act like this. You should be standing by your fiancé, not running at the first sign of trouble. That really pissed me off. I mean, I was standing by Sarah for years, and this is how I get treated. I didn't reply to Tom's message because I knew it would just turn into a pointless argument, and honestly, I was over it, but that wasn't the worst part. A couple of days later, I get a message from Sarah. She used some other number to reach out, and it was a long message, like multiple paragraphs long. She went on about how she was sorry for everything, how she didn't mean to hurt me, and how she realized she made a mistake. She said she was confused about the wedding and needed time to think, but didn't know how to tell me, so she panicked and blocked me. Then she dropped the big one. She said she still wanted to get married. Yeah, you read that right. After all of this, after blocking me, ghosting me for 6 weeks, and trying to blame it all on wedding nerves, she still wanted to marry me. It was like she was living in some fantasy where everything could just go back to normal with a simple apology. I sat there staring at the message for a while, not really knowing what to say. Part of me was still angry. No, actually, most of me was still angry, but there was a small part Of me that felt, I don't know, sad, I guess, like we'd spent years together, and this is how it all ended. It wasn't how I pictured things going, that's for sure, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't something I could forgive. It wasn't just about the wedding or the trip to Europe. It was about trust. Sarah had broken that trust, and no amount of apologies or explanations was going to fix it. I couldn't marry someone who thought it was okay to just disappear when things got tough, so I did what I should have done from the start. I blocked the number she used to text me, deleted the message, and moved on for real. This time, after all of that, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I wasn't tied down by Sarah's guilt trips or her family's pressure anymore. I could finally focus on myself and what I wanted for the future, and honestly, it felt pretty damn good. Update 2. Alright, so you'd think after I blocked Sarah and her family again, things